Hey, welcome to a powerful and purpose-driven episode titled King's Mentality, hosted by Furman Jackson Jr. and Nancy in her absence. This conversation is set to elevate minds, challenge perspective, and ignite transformation. Tonight, we are honored to welcome two kings who are walking in purpose and leading with impact. My first guest, we have Deric Durden, a motivational speaker and transformation coach who is dedicated to helping individuals break mental barriers, unlock their true potential, and step into the best version of themselves. His message is rooted in growth, discipline, and the mindset required to win in life. Also joining him is Cordarius Williams, the founder of Coach Williams University, a leader committed to empower others through knowledge, structure, and personal development. His mission is to build leaders, strengthen communities, and redefine what it means to operate with King's mentality. With a King's mindset. This episode is all about ownership, discipline, purpose, and legacy. What it truly means to think, move, and live like a king in today's world. Get ready for a conversation that will challenge you to rise higher, think deeper, and walk boldly in your calling. Let's get at it. So, gentlemen, how y'all doing on this lovely Tuesday? Thank y'all for taking time out to protect the schedule. I know y'all two men, two kings who are doing extraordinary things here on the earth, making an impact in the DFW and surrounding areas. So, man, I'm gonna pass it around. So, kick it off with D. D, go ahead and introduce yourself once again, my brother. Thank you for taking time out to protect the schedule to be on here.
Man, thank you for having me, man. It's truly a blessing to be every time that I'm able to get on a platform with you, no matter if it's in person or virtual. I always enjoy, spending time with you, conversing, sharing, and adding value to your audience. So I greatly appreciate this opportunity.
And awesome stuff. And I appreciate you again, D. I know you're a very productive man. And I also have another king that's joined us as well. He's no stranger to the platform. He was on the other platform, me and Low. And big shout out to Todd for connecting us. So, Cordarius, coach, go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience, man. Once again, thank you, sir, for taking time with your brother to be on here tonight.
Man, like I told you, man, I appreciate the invite, bro. But what's up, everybody? My name is Cordarius. You can just call me Coach. I am a mental health specialist, and all things mental health for me, man. I just love developing people's mindsets to the next level. Thanks for having me, man.
And awesome stuff. And like I said, man, we're gonna break things down. Like I said, I really wanted to do this. I see a lot of big shout out to our ladies. I see a lot of time that they do a lot of stuff for the lady empowering the ladies. This is time for the men to be empowered. If we go biblical for a moment, man was made in the image of the most high, right? So we are made in the image of God. We're supposed to operate like God, think how God thinks, and how he designed us to be. The scripture lets us know that he said, ye are God, children of the most high. So we are made in his image and operate in his image. And I know y'all two men are the perfect candidates to be on this platform because I know y'all all about kingdomship, y'all all about manhood, y'all all about growth and evolving and helping the next generation out as well. So I'm gonna start with you, DD. Go ahead and give us a background on how you guys started, where it originated from, and then pass it on to Gadares, and then we'll get off into some Q&A.
For sure. For me, it really, when it comes to speaking and really being in front of people, it started with Toastmasters. Actually becoming a vice president of education in one of the clubs. It really taught me first how to speak in public, and then it started teaching me leadership because I was organizing the meetings, and so it really just took me to another level as far as a person, as far as communication wise and leadership. And then I was able to transition and really start doing my own events, becoming a board member of a nonprofit organization called Torch, and my life just really expanded in a really fast pace. And I just really got to the point where I was really pointing to individuals individually and on stages, connecting with my mentor like Ricardo Miller and other individuals like Isaiah Rucker and so many people who really just came into my life because I know and understand that life is not a do-it-yourself sport. If you're going to accomplish something great, it's going to take a team. It's going to take a group of people. And that has been the thing that really elevated me so fast in such a short period of time. And I'm truly grateful for the blessings that God has been able to give me becoming a minister and helping launch a church in Red Oak, Texas. And it's just been such a blessing, such a journey just to walk this path and just walk and continue to be a person that's for the kingdom.
Man, that's what's up right there. And once again, I salute you, King. And by the way, man, I give you a props and an honor to whom honor is due, as the scripture say. Same thing with Cordarius. Go ahead, man. How did journey started for you? And where you at today?
So, man, it started. I'm an educator. Actually, it started for me as a little teenager in the classroom, man. 13, 14-year-old, man, I was obviously I'm black and obviously I'm black and I was smart though. You know, back growing up with me, it's either you was playing football and in regular classes or you was white and in advanced classes. There wasn't many black people in advanced classes. And so, you know, I didn't know my identity because I didn't play football and I didn't know who I was. And I didn't have that father figure there to say, son, it's okay if you don't play football. Son, it's okay if you're not doing what everybody else is doing. This is your identity. And so, you know, I grow up as a teenager just bleeding in plain sight because I'm also a survivor of some childhood traumas as well. And, you know, so I'm really just bleeding in plain sight. I'm really just operating. I'm really just living just because I can, because it's easy to, you know what I'm saying? It's easy to excel. It's easy to do all of this. And so, you know, I got into education. I'm an educator. I got into education to become the role model that I didn't have. I wanted to be the role model to young boys, young girls, to show them, hey, this is who you are in God. Now you go forward in that identity, then your academics will get better. And so, and that turned into, you know, just me speaking. I connected with Eric Thomas community, Eric Thomas and Jeremy Anderson community. I saw how they did it. And then, you know, God has just been engrafting in me just a big vision to birth Coach Williams University and, you know, and all of the things that I do. And so right now I'm the CEO of Coach Williams University. And I also, for the first time, y'all here, want to introduce y'all to the book. So from hurting to healing, an offensive playbook on healing from trauma. So my book is set to release April 9th. Pre-orders are open on my website, coachwilliamsu.com. So that's all for now. That's where I am right now.
Man, man, that's awesome, man. Big shout out to you, see, coach, for the work that you're doing. I applaud you for the work that you're doing. From just watching y'all both from a distance, but I always enjoy to be able to fellowship with y'all. So we'll get into some Q&A. Our first segment is mindset, shift the way kings think, and then we're gonna talk about that this evening. And my first question is gonna be for both y'all. I know y'all have different responses, but my first question is this: I'm gonna start with you first, D. What's one mindset you had to kill to become the man you are today?
Coming from where I came from, as if the audience doesn't already know, I actually served 17 years in prison. So one of the biggest mindsets that I had to overcome was the imposter syndrome. And so when I started speaking, I was traveling across the United States, speaking on stages, um, different conferences, different platforms, and really making an impact. But in my heart, I really was doubting myself because of my background. And that's why my message is so strong now. Make your next move your best move. And you don't have to let your past define you, because that was something that I had to battle through myself. I was thinking that because I had been where I had been, that I wasn't good enough, that I didn't deserve success. Even though I was walking in it, I truly had a void in myself that was holding me back from me getting to the next level. Um, and so for me, overcoming that was the biggest mindset, that imposter syndrome. Overcoming that is what allowed me to step out and really start saying and getting to the point where I start to look at myself like God look at me, instead of trying to guess for how the world look at me. And that was the biggest thing that I had to overcome as far as getting to the level where I'm at now.
And awesome stuff. And I'm same thing for you as well, coach. What's one mindset you had to kill to become the man you are today?
I had to kill how I responded to people, to things, to environments. And I had to kill how trauma made me react. You know, when you go through trauma at such a young age, you 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 just start surviving. You're just trying to get by the best way you can, and you walking on eggshells. You know, you holding tears in your eyes. You holding thoughts that ain't nobody heard in your head before. You crying on your pillow, and you know, and so you start to walk on eggshells with your interaction with other people. So, like for an example, if you grew up and your dad was abusive towards you, now you grow up not thinking that people are going to hit you, but you grow up thinking that people are out to attack you. And so I grew up thinking that all good things must come to an end because nothing good ever went for me in my mind, you know? And so I had to learn how to respond from the healed me versus responding from the hurt me. You know, I had to learn like how to assume positive intent. You know, I had to learn those things. And so I had to learn them here recently, like as a 27, 28-year old. And so that's why I do what I do. So I can teach these teenagers this skill at a very young age, thus maximizing the quality of the rest of their lives. So,
Mm, okay, then that sums it up right there. And I need to my next question. I'm gonna start with you first, coach, and I'm passing on to D. Are you thinking like a king or react like a survivor? So we're gonna ask that question too. I know at times you mentioned something about trauma, and any reaction is what they say reaction, right? So how do
mhm,
you cope and how do you challenge? Do I think like a king or do I get into survival mode? How do you discern the two?
man. So how do I discern the two? I discern the two by looking at who's in front of my face. For an example, if me and my wife are having a conversation and she offends me, like I have to think like a king, knowing that my wife has my best interest at heart. So if that makes sense. And
Hmm.
so I have to think like a king in that matter because I have to keep in mind who I'm talking to. Does the person have my best interest at heart? And if I don't know, then I have to figure out, should I be hanging around this person? And so, like, I had to think like a king. I had to learn how to think like a king by cutting my circle too.
Mm.
I had to cut my circle because I didn't know who was around me. I didn't know if they meant me good or evil. Now, of course, they mean me good, but why you helping? Like, why you planting those bachelor thoughts into my head? Why you saying it's okay if I cheat on my wife and stuff like that? You know what I'm saying? Cheating on my wife is a survivalist mentality because you're not comfortable with where you are, and so you go out and you try to get it how you can. That's a survivor mentality. Get it any way you can. Get it out of the mud type deal. So, I had to surround myself with better thinking people. You know, I had to surround myself with people who was a little bit further along in life than I was.
Okay, I like that response. Same with for you question as well for you, Didi. Are you thinking like a king or react like a survivor? How do you discern the two? Because I know a lot of times we have things that may come up and how we respond to different things. Do we respond in a king mentality or would you respond in survival mentality?
When you ask that question, the word kingdom came to
Mm,
mind. And if we look at the word kingdom and we break it down into two words, it's king and dome. So when we think about king, we're talking about airship. So we're talking about a hierarchy. Thinking from and dome, we're talking about the mind. So we're thinking about elevated thinking when we think about the kingdom. And so when we tap into that, we have to know and understand, how does God think about us? If we think about us the way God thinks about us, then we're going to act in kingdom. We're going
let's
to
do
believe in kingdom. And how we believe is what determines how we behave. And so we believe what God has said about us, and we'll behave in a way that is in line with what He has said. And so for me, I definitely walk in the light of the kingdom mindset. And so for me, it's definitely kingdom over survival for sure.
I like the response from both of y'all. Then lead up to our next questions. We talking about mindset, shift the way kings thinks. And I'm gonna ask you this question, D. What's the difference between confidence and delusion in today's men?
I think the difference between confidence and delusion is very simple. We might try to overthink it or try to create a definition that's not based on reality. But when we think about confidence, confidence is based on real reality. Delusion is based on something that's totally made up, a fantasy. And so when we think about the difference between delusion and confidence, confidence is built off of us making the correct decisions over time. And so when you do the right thing over time, that's when confidence is built.
it.
But delusion is based off of something that's a fancy, something that's not based in reality, something not based in truth. And so that's the main difference between confidence, which is based in reality, and delusion, which is based in a fantasy.
Okay, man, I like that. Right, straight to the point. Same question for you as well, Coach. What's the difference between confidence and delusion in today's men?
Man, hey, I can't that he hit the nail on the head with that one. He stole the thoughts right out of my head, especially when it came down to the preparation. You know, growing up, it would always be Cordarius, you cocky, Cordarius, you arrogant, and it's like my thing is don't let my confidence offend your insecurities. The things that I prepare for, I'm confident in. Now, it would be delusion for me to be a basketball player, never played tackle football a day in my life, and go out there in Friday night lights or on a Sunday and think that I can play for the NFL. Kind of like you said, that's a fantasy. You know what I mean? And so confidence comes from preparation. Confidence comes from clarity, knowing what it is that you need to do. I wouldn't be a confident doctor. So everything that he said and those little tidbits, man, just got to be real.
Okay, right. It really is. And you mentioned something that don't allow your companies to offend anyone's insecurities, of course. And we know that individuals are insecure themselves, victimized, things they went through in their past, think they're ashamed of, especially men. Men have some things in their life they are ashamed to address. Think they're ashamed to express when it comes to their female counterpart, their woman to confine in because of things that may happen to them. I'm gonna ask you
Hmm.
this, Coach: Are men not the level where they can actually open up to their female counterpart, their partner in life, their woman, their wife, their queen, whatever, with the things they went through, the things they experienced, the things that they was exposed to as a child?
So at the beginning, it kind of broke up a little bit. So can you repeat that for me?
All right, I'm gonna ask you this: Are being now at the point now where they could open up to confiding to their significant other about
Mm,
things they went through, things they experienced, things they was victimized in, things they may be ashamed of, things they may be embarrassed by, that they can actually open up and say, "Hey, this is something I went through. This is something I was a victim of." Because I know a lot of time we play those images in our mind mentally.
yeah,
May think we got it together physically, but we still playing that episode
yeah,
mentally.
straight up.
And
So this is
our
what I think,
guys
bro.
now, go ahead.
My bad, man. I didn't mean to cut you off. I
No, you
think that
good.
it's like, I think that it's on an individual, case by case basis. Man, I had to have a conversation with my wife. If I can, vulnerability is my superpower. So I had to have a conversation with my wife in December of 2022, and that led to another conversation to where I had sit her down and tell her something that like 20 years ago, I said 2 decades ago, I was sexually abused. And I kept that secret for 2 decades. I didn't tell not a soul for 2 decades, not even my mama. It started when I was 5 and it ended around the time that I was 10. All right. I didn't even tell my mama. And so, like, I don't know why I wouldn't tell Chandra. Probably because I was ashamed. Probably because it made me grow up and feel like I was gay or something like that. And it was like, so I kept that a secret out of shame. I was the victim, but I made myself the villain. And so it's really a case by case, like it's really a case by case, man. It's a comfortability thing. I would challenge that to say to the men that's not ready to talk to their significant other, I would challenge that and say, okay, what did you marry her for? Our marriage vow says for better or for worse, for sickness and in health, and to death do us part. And so we have to be an active participator of our vows, and I can understand it is hard, but freedom lies on the other side of your confession.
Right, it does. I'm gonna ask you that as Deacon can time in on that because as I you was talking, Coach, it made the word came to me that it takes time to get to that level. Not to get to that level, and unlearn to relearn. If that makes sense. And a
Mm-hmm.
lot of time we put all this added pressure on ourselves. So things gonna happen overnight. No, it's constantly we gotta grow and evolve. Like the
Mm-hmm.
scripture says, meditate on the word day and night, which means it's gotta
Mm-hmm.
be an ongoing, continued thing till we grow into what the word say about us, right? And then a
Right.
lot of time we think, oh, I could do it one time and that's it. Nah, it take you gotta break down them layers. Um,
Mm-hmm.
deep to the deep. You go deep down to the belly of the well in order to bring up them roots because we cut the grass, but we got to kill that root, and it takes time to be able to kill that root. We want to time in on that. You want to time in on that one, Derek?
Yeah, I agree with Brother Cordarius for sure. It's definitely individual because if an individual goes through certain things, even as a child, there are certain type of responses that's going to happen. So if am I able
Right.
to be vulnerable with my spouse, it starts first with myself. Because a lot of times when we went through traumatic situations, we might pick somebody to be in a relationship with that has similar trauma. And so
Mm.
Mm,
that's what they call a quote unquote trauma bond. And
mm,
even if the trauma might not be the exact same, they might have a different trauma but cause the same type of response. And so if can I truly be vulnerable with them? Can they handle what I have to share with them goes back to the reason why I truly connected with them in the first place.
mm,
And so if I'm not in a position myself to be vulnerable and I pick somebody to bond with because of the trauma I've been through,
mhm,
no, it probably won't be safe in order for me to be vulnerable with that individual because they might not have done or been able to handle the trauma that they have within themselves also. So for me,
mhm,
like I totally agree with Cordarius. Case by case scenario, it all starts with self, and a lot of times the trauma that we go through um, affects us in a way that we choose people who might have been through some of the same things we've been through, and so it might not be a safe space, depending on how we both have went through the healing process.
I'm gonna ask you this too, and made me think about something.
good.
Using that as an excuse. I know a lot of times individuals use that as an excuse not to get better, and they want to blame everything else. Are we continue using that as an excuse? Some individuals do. Some like accountability.
I think that uh, you can be in trauma so long that even though it's not healthy, it feels comfortable.
Right.
Mm,
And so if you've been holding on to this for so long and it's comfortable to you, it's scary to be vulnerable. It's scary to open up. It's scary to be face the judgment of what might come from me sharing that vulnerability with somebody else. And it might just be a whole lot more comfortable for me to just hold on to this and stay in my shell than to open myself up, open those wounds up to deal with them, to heal with them, and also share with somebody else. So for me, I think that um, yes, it can be an excuse because it's a whole lot more comfortable to continue in the path that I've been on because I've been dealing with this trauma by myself for so long than it is to open up, expose myself, expose those wounds, and share it with somebody else and actually go through the healing process.
Right. Cause
you
I
know, and if
went
I
to a
could
meet.
jump in,
Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
man, man, I want to, bro. You dropped some bars right there, Derek. Like big bars, man. And I want to piggyback and say that it also depends on the your spouse, your significant other, because there are people out there that be weaponizing trauma. You tell them something in confidence, and then 2 minutes later they bringing it up in an argument. You know, and
Hmm.
so shout out to my lady for creating that safe space for me, because if she was verbally abusive, yeah, I'm gonna keep it in me. So and it's a case by case deal right there, man.
And yeah, cause you're right. You took the words out of my mouth, coach. I was about to get ready to say that. 'Cause I remember I went to a men's conference years ago in New Orleans, and TD Jakes was the guest speaker there. And TD Jakes said something, same thing y'all really said, that only time a man will open up to his woman when they're intimate together for the very first time. But soon you mention something about an argument come up, she throw it back in his face. He's gonna go into hibernation, which means he doesn't trust you anymore because he could find something in you when y'all became intimate for the very first time. So in other words, we have to be very cautious on what we say. Same thing with the ladies as well. Fellas, if your woman could find something to you, don't get mad and throw it back in her face. Now she gonna feel betrayed as well. So we just have to be careful what we say, right?
Right.
So we got a comment section. Big shout out to Mrs. Jones and DFW. She said that's how I felt about being overweight. Working through it and allowing the owners and talking about it makes me open and help others. What do y'all want to say about that comment?
Oh yeah. When we actually get to the point where we're uh, strong enough within ourselves to actually be vulnerable, not only do we heal, but once we share those stories with other individuals, it may be the one story that changes their lives. I
Hmm.
recently preached at the study of a church that I'm helped found uh, uh, last weekend, and my message was, "You are someone else's miracle." And so from that, when I got to the message was simple. Before you can be somebody else's miracle, you have to first understand that you are a miracle. Whatever you have been through, whatever you have overcame, it does not disqualify you. It really qualifies you to help individuals that are going through what you've already overcome. And then once you do that and you start to walk in that and you're able to own that and you're able to share, the next person who really needs to hear your message will be brought into your life at the right time, because they say, when a student is ready, a teacher will appear. And so by you sharing your message after you have been through it, you start walking through the healing process. Because we know and understand a person who can help an alcoholic the most is a person who used to be an alcoholic. And
True.
so whatever your story is, whatever your struggle is, whatever you had to overcome, it wasn't only for you. It's definitely to help other individuals that are coming behind you that are facing some of the same things that you face. And so that's why I do what I do, and that's why I share the way I share.
Man, awesome stuff. You want to respond to that as well, Coach? To the comment by
Man,
Mrs. Jones?
hey, I second what he said. I said everything that you go through the test is for the testimony, the message for the message, and everything that you go through is always an opportunity for you to help somebody else get through it too, and so it's all about, I always say too, if you can change it, change it. If not, then don't worry about it. I can't change my dark skin complexion. I can't change that. I can't change big teeth, big gums. I can't change that. But weight, I can change weight. You know, like I can change that. And so if I'm insecure about it, then I gotta be secure in my ability to change it. And so, yeah, man, that's some good words right there.
Yeah, yeah, because I know when I was in my health journey and I was overweight and I looked at past episodes on the show that I was doing, how fat my face was and everything else. And I ain't gonna lie, I felt ashamed too about my weight. I really did.
Mm-hmm.
I'm be honest with you. I didn't like
Mm-hmm.
looking at pictures of myself. I didn't like none of that stuff. But now I'm more confident now because one, I learned how to value myself. I take you back to the scripture when the Apostle Paul said, "No man yet hate his own flesh, but nourishes and cherish it." And that made me think about going back to loving yourself and to, like you said earlier, D, how God see you. And I know how the world see you, but how God sees you. And we're fearfully, wonderfully made. We're made in his image. We're kings. We're gods in the earth. And the Bible says we are God, children of the most high, right? So we are him. We are made in his image. He put his spirit in us so we can operate like him and get into that mindset. And that's what I learned on this journey as well. So I thank y'all guys for that. And what else, Miss Jones? She said, so true. My hubby is more than a friend. We laugh and talk about everything. How important is that to be best friends with your significant other? That y'all can be able to laugh and have a good time and be goofy
Man,
with each other.
it's funny that you say that because I just told Chandra that most people say your spouse can't be your best friend. I got married when I was 20. I've been married for 11 years, and I'm gonna be married for life.
Congratulations.
Man,
Congratulations
appreciate
on
that.
that.
Man, but it's hard work though. I thank you. And I think media glamorizes or makes marriage look so easy, and it prescribes ways to be married, but it's really not like that. It's really not like the media makes it. And I told my wife this the other day, literally. I said, "You are my best friend." Like I have come to the consensus that she is my very best friend. I tell her every single last thing. She has seen me cry. She has seen me bleed. She has taken care of me. She done wipe my dirty butt. She done it all. You understand what I'm saying? Like
Right.
like for real. Like and so I share with her. And because the thing about it is, I'm gonna be real, it's exhausting trying to make friends in today's world. Everybody trying to compete. Nobody's really genuine these days. You know what I'm saying? And it's like it's mindsets. And so I would rather my spouse be my best friend than be let down by somebody else out here in the world. You know, just straight up.
Right, because when you line up, because I look at when you with your significant other, as it's alignment there. It's part of
Hmm.
your purpose. God gave man a purpose, right? And we know that our purpose come for anything that He put forth. But your wife is a part of the purpose that God has put on you, but He presented upon you as well. So it's all about having an alignment at the end of the day. That's how I look at it. So we're gonna talk about some mental discipline. That's gonna be the next question. How do you stay mentally disciplined when life stops making sense, D? That's the question. How do you stay mentally disciplined when life stops making sense?
I think that for me, it's about having a foundation in place. What is your foundation? That's the thing that's going to stay rock solid in the midst of a storm. If we think about a house, it doesn't matter if it's raining outside, if it's a tornado outside. It may tear down the house, but guess what? One thing that's going to still stand is the foundation. And I think that for me, as far as the kingdom mindset, that is my foundation because I know and understand that everything is working for me. Everything is happening in my favor, no matter what it is. It might look like a bad thing, but I know that even in the midst of bad times, it's preparation for my next stage. It's
Mm.
about how do you really foundate yourself in a way that you know and understand that life you're gonna go through stuff. Either you've been through something, you're currently going through something, or you're about to go something in life. That's just how it works. But if you have a foundation as far as mentally, and you know what you stand for, if you have pre-decided decisions made that you're gonna stand on no matter what's going on, that is how you stay firm. That is how you stay founded. That is how you stay strong in the midst when everything else is in chaos. So for me, it's definitely having a strong mental foundation, one in God and one in just having a kingdom mindset despite of what's going on around me.
And I like that. What's the same thing? I'm asking you that as well, Coach. What separate? Well, to that, how do you stay mentally disciplined when life stop making sense? How do you stay mentally disciplined when all hell break loose, all chaos break loose, the money low, the bills coming up, uh, don't know the next meal coming from, car breakdown, somebody gets sick, and people have these different reactions. But how do you maintain that mental discipline? So you got people at the end they relying on it. Your wife relies on your leadership. Your children
Mm,
relies on your guidance, and you have to be in that role for them, right? So
right.
how do you maintain that mental discipline when life doesn't make sense? Because I know a lot of people crack under pressure and they just turn to drugs, alcohol, anything under the sun to numb that pain they're going through.
Man, listen, I understand why people do drugs and liquor to numb the pain. I understand. Just straight up. Life hard. You understand what I'm saying? Life's hard. Life's been extremely hard for me these last couple of years, to tell you the truth. Everything that you just hit on is everything that I've had to deal with. I start my business, I start my book. My wife loses her job, in the May of that previous year. I'm an educator, so we rolling on one income, two newborn babies. We had just moved to Forney, or whatever, and so it's like, man, account been red every month for the last 2 years. You understand what I'm saying? And when you're the king of your kingdom, it's like the pressure of feeding your family or the pressure of knowing how I'm gonna pay the rent, knowing how I'm gonna pay the light bill. These are the big ones. I don't care about nothing else. You know what I'm saying? Knowing how to pay the water bill, having to ask so many people for money over the last 2 years. As a 31-year-old, and I'm 31 now, I have had to ask people for money, and it's been so humbling. And so, to answer your question, like, I've started my business, I've wrote this book, I got my master's degree, and I'm currently getting my doctorate degree while the fire is still hot. Like, I just look like this. Glory be to God. Like, black don't crack. You know what I'm saying? What
Right.
I'm saying? But if
That melatonin.
but you know what I'm saying? But if you sat down with me and you literally ask me questions over each season of my life to pull it out of me, you would wonder why I didn't crack. And it was many days to where I turned to the liquor cup. You understand what I'm saying? In 2026, like as many days to where I said, baby, I got to stop, because this is not healthy for me. And the thing that has kept me mentally disciplined, not mentally perfect, but mentally disciplined, all right, is fasting. I am a very frequent faster. Like my lifestyle is fasting. Like I intermittent fast. I will go days without eating, not days without eating. Hold on now. I like my food and my wife can cook. I didn't say that right. All right. I will go I will I will go I will I will go a day or so, like a good chunk of that day without eating until I come home and eat dinner. And that keeps me spiritually disciplined. That keeps me connected to God. That keeps my flesh starved and that keeps me hungering and thirsting for the presence of God, man, in real life.
I like that. I like that. I really do like that because we got to kill this flesh. No good thing to come out this flesh, and we know that the flesh cries out, right? Jesus said himself, the spirit is willing, yet the flesh is weak. And we know that
Hmm.
flesh cries out. And I understand why he tells us to walk by faith, not by sight. And in a lot of times in this earth, in this world we in, we know the cares of this world and the deceitfulness of riches rob that seed of faith. And because we know Christ dealt with anxiety. Because remember, he said, don't take no thought for your life with me. He dealt with anxiety. And we know that people deal with anxiety because we had those moments, if we keep
Hmm.
it real, we had those anxiety moments. When the bank account runs slow, we thinking about tomorrow. We thinking about the next day when the next pay period. Oh, how I'm gonna have gas in my car, how I'm gonna eat, how I'm gonna do this, and how I'm gonna do that. Cause we had right? We had those things that go through our
Right.
mind on a regular basis. Oh, how I want to be able to take my wife out, but I don't have the money to take her out. But knowing
Hmm.
she doesn't not care about the money, but we have that. It's that mental thing we have to break. Which I said, I'm gonna start with you. What you say about that, D? Breaking that mental barrier of anxiety and worrying about tomorrow and how I'm gonna deal with this, how I'm gonna deal with that. Embarrassed and shame because I don't have this in my bank account.
I think that what comes to mind is the past is the history, tomorrow is a mystery, and at the end of the day, all we have is now. We can prepare for the future, and we can learn from our past. But our future is really based off of what we do today. The decisions
Mm,
that we make today is what determines our future. It's a lot of times we fear things that never really even happen.
Hmm.
We have an anxiety about something that hasn't happened. But if we
Hmm.
utilize the time that we have right now, the thing that we're fearing never even has to happen. And so I think that a lot of times we continuously we don't understand that today is a present, a gift that has been given to us, and how we use it is really our gift back to the individual God that gave us that ability, that present. And so for me, it's like today, now is what really matters. We can't change the past, but we can change our path. I'm gonna say that again. We can't change our past, but we can change our path. But the way we change our path is with what we're doing right now. And so, with that, I think that the answer to that question is really utilizing what we have today instead of focusing on the past and in the future. Because at the end of the day, that's all we have is today.
yeah, I agree with that 1,000% because you really broke it down. And everything about the book, The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. It talks about that. A lot of times we always looking forward to the future, looking forward to the future. But if we have not corrected our present, we're just gonna preach the same thing in the future, like you said. So we got right now. So we correct right now. Once we correct right now, the future will take care of itself. So that it really just lined up what you were saying, D, on that as well, lining up. What we got in the comment section for Mrs. Jones? Big shout out to Mrs. Jones with the comments. She said, "True, I changed one meal breakfast, and I've lost the most weight doing just that intermediate fasting." What y'all say about that intermediate fasting?
I'll let Cordero go off on that one.
Man, hey, listen, that's what I do. And I like to call my intermittent fasting the Jesus fast. Like in John chapter 4, when they was passing through Samaria, he sent his homeboys off to Samaria to go get some food. And then they came back after he had talked to the woman at the well. They was like, "Here, Jesus, here go the food." Jesus was like, "No, I'm good. I ain't hungry no more." And they was like, Are we crazy? When did this man have time to eat? He said, my food is to do the will of the Lord.
Mm.
And so my that's called the G. I'm a teacher. People, oh, you're a teacher? What do you teach, man? I don't care about math. I don't care about that. I am in there to teach people about Jesus and how to heal from their traumas. And that's why I'm in there. I am not a traditional teacher, and so it's just like um, I'm always on mission because the students they say, hey coach, can you see my scars? Hey coach, man, hey man, last night, hey, I thought about unaliving. In real life, I had like six of those cases from teenagers in one day, and woof, then still turn around and see them the next day and the next day. It's a ministry. And so to sustain the kind of power and the mental fortitude to deal with so many sad stories, I have to intermittent fast. I have to draw on God's strength because I couldn't do that in my strength. I couldn't do it in my own strength. And so intermittent fasting is me asking God to give me the strength in my weakness to be able to have the words and to be able to save lives on a frontline, real life, non metaphorical sense.
Yeah, man, that was like I like that. I like that. Now we're gonna get off into purpose, walking in assignment and not confused. That is our next segment. Some of the questions I'm gonna start off with you, Derek. How do you know you're walking in purpose and not just chasing money? We in the world now. Everybody's I gotta get the bag. I
Mm.
gotta get the bag. Get the bag. And we know the Bible does say you can't serve God and mammon, which is money. So how do you know you're walking in purpose and not just chasing money? Because I know you seek first the kingdom of God and everything else gonna be added unto you.
I think that when we looking at purpose, the difference between chasing purpose and chasing profits is this: are you serving people? At the end of the day, that's what purpose is. How many people are you serving? How many lives are you changing? If you are really walking in servanthood, then that's how you know what your purpose is. Because at the end of the day, what is more important to you? Is it profits or is it people? Because when I look at a situation like me, I
Mm.
recently got laid off due to AI. But we know and understand business is business. At the end of the day, they laid people off from AI because they can make more profits regardless of how that layoff affected the people. So at the end of the day, it's really about what's most important because God, Jesus, however you believe, we understand that, hey, he was healing people, bringing people back from the dead. All he was doing was serving people. So that's how you know the difference between if you're chasing purpose or profits, if you're serving people.
Okay, I like that. That sums it up right there. Same question for you as well, Coach. How do you know you're walking in purpose and not just chasing money? Because we in that time now. Everybody's I gotta chase the bag, I gotta get this bag, but don't have no purpose. They just I gotta get this bag. So how do you know when you're walking in purpose and not chasing money?
Oh, shoot, man. Timothy says, for the love of money is the root of all evil. And so I would answer that question and say, you can't serve God and man. You can't serve God and that dollar sign. Which one do you love more? But because now I'm a play devil's advocate a little bit, and I don't think that purpose and prosperity should have been separated. Somehow in our gospel, we think that if we are walking in purpose, we got to be poor. Find me that scripture. Somebody told me last week, well, blessed are the poor in spirit. Come on, man. You got a master. You've been to seminary school, and you think that poor in spirit is talking about my pocketbook? No way, man. And I'm not saying everybody's created to be an entrepreneur. I'm not saying everybody's created to prosper, but I do know that Jeremiah 29:11 says, "For I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper and to and not to harm you." Right?
Right.
Matthew 6:33 says, "But seek first the kingdom of God and His righteousness, and all these things will be added to you." There are so many scriptures that talks about money, and I think that we got to understand that I will be content, like Paul said, having a lot or having a little, because I love God more than I love the a lot and more than I love the a little.
Right. It makes sense. With profits, a man to gain the whole world yet lose his soul. Because you can profit the world yet lose your soul, and
Hmm.
become a slave to the dollar bill when we are in control. Because we are God, so we are in control. Because we won't allow dollars to control us, right? And I
Right.
think, and then I like about that in Deuteronomy 8:18. It did say this in Deuteronomy 8:18 that God gives the power to get wealth that he may
Hmm.
establish because he made with our forefathers. So God gives the ability and the mindset to get wealth. But then also he lets us know that we should always acknowledge him that it was the one who gave us the wealth. It was his ability, it was the gift that he gave me to be able to produce all these things here. And also to be a blessing and give back. Because at the end of the day, that just be real. Everybody wants to live good, right? Everybody
Hmm.
wants to be healthy. Everybody wants to be prosperous. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Hmm.
Cause there's nothing wrong with that. But it just how we just keep everything in the balance. Like, hey, this is just the byproduct of me in my purpose. Does that make sense? The house
Yeah.
is the byproduct. The money is the
Hmm.
byproduct of what I have accumulated and have done. I didn't seek those things. Them things came by me operating in my purpose. And you want to be in a position, because it been told to me years ago that God's gonna make you and your wife a millionaire. And I do believe that, right? Because God will entrust you in that area because he gave us dominion. And a lot of
Hmm.
times, Coach, we forget about that. And I know it's that mentality that we had for so long, especially when it comes to the black church. We were scared to prosper at one point. We was taught the love of money. You love money is evil. Oh, I
Straight up.
can't do it. It's the devil. You
Straight up.
gonna get your riches in heaven. So you telling me the God that created us wants us to live in poverty. He wants us to be that don't make no sense, right? And you get
No, it
all that
don't.
stuff, you get to heaven, and we believe, our ancestors, our grandparents, they lived off that, and they passed it on down to their children, right? So, what kind of God to serve if He wants us to be in poverty, wants to be miserable?
For me, I I make sure I repeat to myself over and over. I do affirmations. My God provides for me exceedingly and abundantly. That's scripture. He provides for me exceedingly and abundantly. He didn't create me to not be able to fulfill my purpose. He equipped me with everything I needed. He deposited inside of me everything that I needed. And the more that you truly have from a righteous standpoint, the more people that you can help, the more you can walk in your purpose. So for me, I truly believe that um, when he talk about poor in spirit, like Brother Cordarius said, he talking about spirit. He ain't talking about pockets.
No, fact.
When we talk about poor in spirit, we're talking about just being humble.
That's it, being humble.
Being humble. And I know a lot of people, a lot of people, even people that's close to me, say it's easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than a rich man to get to heaven. But what about the context? What was he talking about? He was talking about somebody who would not release his possessions in order to follow him. If you cherish the possessions more than walking in the right path, then yes, that applies to you. But that is not applicable to every individual. Because for me, I know and understand I'm supposed to. That's my inheritance. I was born into a God who has abundant possessions. So why would I
Right.
want? Why, if my father has abundance, why would I be a pauper? Why would I be a beggar? Why would I be poor? It don't make sense to me.
It don't. It don't. And that's the wrong teaching that been put out there in the earth for so long, out there in the universe for so long, and people bought into it because they didn't educate themselves. I got big shout to Chef Edward. I have him on the other platform, and he said this. He said the scripture tells us to study to show thyself
Mm,
approved.
mm.
And when he said that, and I never thought about that, it said study to show thyself approved. I mean, everything starts with self first, right? And I never looked at it that way. When he broke that down, like, yeah, everything starts with self first. And we forget about that. Like, you forget about that. What you say about that, Derek?
I think that we can't give to other people what we don't first possess. And it's scripturally founded. We know in order to have friends, you have to first be friendly. In order to be prosperous, you have to first be prosperous in yourself. In order to have freedom, you have to first have freedom within yourself. Everything starts with self.
Mm-hmm.
And it starts with your relationship to your higher power. And that is a direct, the higher power is the source, and we are a resource. If we know and understand that, then we know and understand that, hey, it's all about my first connection, this vertically and then horizontally. It starts with self. Let's look at a solar system. The sun is in the middle, and all the planets rotate around that sun. And it's like we are the center of our universe. The people who are a part of our circle. What you do first, how you illuminate those other people, that really is an example of who you are as a person. So for me, everything rises and falls on leadership. And the first person that we have to lead in life is ourselves. And so for me, I think that everything starts with self first, and then it expands out to other things and other people in our lives.
Yeah, I do. I agree with that 1,000%. I see that a lot of time on social media. I see a lot of these guys. They always make everything about the woman. Everything starts with self first, and I say this all the time. If you can't lead yourself, you can't lead her. Everything starts with self first. Everything starts with self first. When God created Adam Eve, he created Adam first, right? He had Adam operate in his purpose. Then eventually he made a help meet for Adam. Adam was operating in his purpose. So God gave us purpose first. And once we learn our purpose and line up with our purpose, the alignment, everything else will fall into place. What y'all say about that?
I agree. I agree. Sorry, I lost. I
Nah,
couldn't
you
hear after my phone had rung.
nah, you good.
Man, I agree. What I caught on the tail end from Derek and what you just said, we start with God. You know what I'm saying? God gives us identity. We are created in His image, and you said it. I even learned this from you. I think it's in Psalm that we are gods. You know,
Right.
I think you were the first. You were the first one who I saw on Facebook say that. You know, and then like you said it, and you didn't drop the scripture, so I googled it. But it was through what you said that led me to Google that, and I was like, oh, it makes sense. You know, and so that's not saying, oh, I'm better than anybody or anything like that. It's just saying that no, God gives me my identity, and that's where I gain identity in Him. It's through that. It's through Him,
Right. That's
brother.
the purpose of me creating the King's mentality. I think it's like my fourth King mentality that I done on the Walking His Ways. So it's something that I created because I think this is a safe for men like you to come on this platform to drop gems, drop some jewels, drop some nuggets to empower other men and our younger generation. Because we got the YNs now, of course. And we know that the YNs are all over the place, but they need a guidance, because I
Hmm.
see a lot of that. But as men, as elder men, we have to lead by example, of course. And they have the YNs want to see the result. They want to see the receipts. Does that make sense?
Hmm.
Because
It makes sense.
we had OGs growing up. Everybody aspired. Hey, I want to be like this OG. Because OG had it going on. He had this. He had that. Do you see that repeating itself again when it comes to the YNs? They say they want someone they can look up to, someone who got their stuff together.
I believe I believe so. But it's a different day and time. I think that I think it has been a continual, gradual um, absence of manhood, and I think that every generation it has gotten worse and worse. And for
Mm.
us, uh, we were failed, and then we continue to fail the next generation, and now we're looking at this generation and wondering why they're so lost. Because I feel like a lot of us, not every man, we got some great dads out there in the world, by just they really deserve a round of applause. But overall, we have what 80% of household are single moms, and so we look at the statistics and we know and understand that the absence of a father, no matter if it's a male or female child, that absence causes a lot of disruption and a lot of chaos. And so I
It
think that
does.
even the quote unquote OGs that we had, they quote unquote told us some things, and they wasn't necessarily telling us the right things.
Right.
And so we have a younger generation where, like you say, they need seats. You just can't tell them no anything. See, we weren't able to talk back, but they have a voice. And hey, and I agree with it, because if you can tell me something and I can't verify it, then I probably shouldn't be following you anyway. And so this younger generation of quote unquote YNs, they really expect receipts. They want you to show them better than tell them.
Right. I agree with that 1000%. It's all about
100.
results. That's why, even matter of fact, Christ had results. He said, "Follow me, and I should make you fishers of men." He had receipts. Paul had receipts. Paul said, "Follow me as I follow Christ." He had receipts. He had the fruit. And remember, Christ says, "By their fruits you shall know them." In other words, you're gonna see the result of their lives. He just talking about by their fruit. It ain't about your words. I'm watching your fruit. I'm watching the result that you putting out there in the world. How you conduct yourself and how you carry yourself. And I know as you, coach, I know you are a married man. You can't preach, be faithful to your wife, and you cheat on your wife. You get that?
Right.
That doesn't make sense at all.
100.
You can't tell
100.
somebody, "Oh man, don't step on your wife," but they see you stepping out. I'm just using that as an
Mm-hmm.
example.
I
But
understand.
that's a kind we'll have that do as I say, but do as I do mentality.
Man, I
And
understand.
and that's the mentality and breaking that, but they all about seeing the results. It's all about. So we about to get ready to close up. I know we're at that point. We got to do another again. I ain't get through all these questions before we get ready to party is at that time. So I'm gonna start with you, Coach. Do you have any final remarks, any words of wisdom you want to leave here with the listening audience? And then I'm passing the same thing for you as well, Derek, and I'm gonna let y'all depart. And then everybody have a great night.
Man, last thing, man, kings have discipline. You understand what I'm saying? Everybody wants to wear the crown, but heavy is the head that wears the crown. It's discipline creates a good king, and any king we can read about that didn't have discipline, what wasn't he went down in history for being bad. From the Bible to now. You know what I'm saying? And so you got to have discipline, and you have to have discipline to stay closer to God. You have to have discipline, over sex. You have to have discipline over drugs, over alcohol. You have to discipline yourself in these areas because we can't be out here saying that we are kings, sons of God, and we can't control, our little head. You understand what I'm saying? And so
Right.
I think that's the greatest discipline that we don't have it be a single man or a married man. We don't have that sexual discipline. Creating that sexual discipline changed my whole life, just straight up. I know it's a tough word to talk about, but creating it changed my whole life. And I'm gonna end on that. I'm gonna end on two if I can. Y'all go to
Go ahead.
coachwilliamsu.com. Y'all, my book is out. It's for pre-order. It releases on April 9th. coachwilliamsu.com. Y'all go run them pre-orders up. You'll get a bookmark, and you'll get a special message, signed book in your signed copy of the book. Book release April 9th. Appreciate the platform, bro.
And I thank you as well, Coach. I appreciate men of color. I'm glad to see men of color, black men, on here talking something positive, not talking nothing negative, not talking foolish, not talking about getting high, not talking about getting drunk, not talking about I gotta go smash this hole and all this other stuff. So I appreciate y'all
Hmm.
for being men of integrity and men of character. Pass on to you as well, D. Any final words, any final remarks you leave with the audience?
For sure. Just really, I think it's time for us as men to step up to what we have been
I
called
agree.
to do. And that's what's most important. It starts with self before we start talking about or blaming the government, blaming our woman, blaming all these the different things. We have to look at ourselves and really get that foundation together. And so, with that, I think that is the key to everything else. If once we get ourselves together, everything else around us will be great.
You know
You
what?
can always reach out to me on Facebook. It's Deric, Dericc. Durden. On Facebook and Instagram. TikTok is Deric D90. Um, LinkedIn is Deric Durden. And just I'm open. I'm willing to share, willing to build, and just connecting with individuals, podcasts, conferences, speaking, mentorship on all different levels. So if I was to give one final word, it's men, it's time to stand up and be the men that we call to be.
Man, awesome stuff. And I appreciate y'all gentlemen as well. I had to get y'all back on here again. We want to talk about that. Coach, you brought up something about sexual discipline. That's something that we need to talk about. Sexual discipline and financial discipline. Because I think that's a lot of things we have to maintain control over. Finances and our sexual nature as well. Because that's very, very important as kings to be more live a disciplined life. So I love to get y'all back on here. And we can elaborate on that if y'all down for that.
For
Yeah,
sure.
I'm down.
Anytime.
And awesome stuff. So, ladies and gentlemen, we about to depart. I know y'all gentlemen, y'all got things to do. I'm about to let y'all depart and leave. I'm about to sign off. I'll be back here tomorrow on the Just Saying podcast. Me and Lo will be on here tomorrow at 5. And then I'll be back Saturday with the Walking This Way, our Saturday morning edition as well. Big shout out to Renee Nabel out of Mississippi. I had her on the mid-morning show this morning. So, big shout out to her in Mississippi. I mean, big shout out to y'all. Much love to y'all. Man, I give you y'all cigars right. I don't do flowers. We get the ladies they flowers. I get the guys they cigars. So I'm giving y'all cigars right now. Not flowers, cigars. We gotta stop saying that too, fellas. Stop saying I gotta give my no. Get the guys they cigars, the ladies they flowers. That's just my belief. All right, it's all about masculinity, right? So man, y'all be blessed. We out this thing. Peace, everybody.
All right, bro.